Welcome to Close Listening. I'm Zach Morgenstern, joined as always by silent co-host Ludwig von B. And today we're talking about Darkness on the Edge of Town. I've been on a bit of a Bruce Springsteen kick lately, and while initially my instinct was not to review this one, as I mentioned in my review of Born to Run, I continued to listen to it, and well, it grew on me. So let's talk about this album and the tracks on it. The first track is a song called Badlands. So this one has a slightly more meta feel to it than Bruce's earlier songs, in the sense that while a very common pattern in the songs up to this point in his career is about searching for adventure in ordinary life, this one kind of direct states that concept directly and recognizes the inherent absurdity of desperately trying to be a bad boy, trying to be a bad boy while at the end of the day being an ordinary person in an ordinary world. The imagery of Badlands is an interesting choice. I mean, I can't imagine actual Badlands are really part of the New Jersey landscape. So it's both, I guess, Springsteen trying to pay tribute to broader America, but just also having fun with some language play. Musically, it's quite fun. It continues the jingly sound of Born to Run. But what can be a bit frustrating with this song is that the words are more crammed in there, and Springsteen's vocal delivery certainly gets a bit more mumbly. So that's why I didn't love this record at first. I just honestly had a hard time hearing a lot of the lyrics, and it sounded fine, but nothing new, and I just wanted to hear the lyrics a little better. Track number 2 is called Adam Raised a Cain. Now, when I first heard this one, I kind of respected it, but didn't love it. It has this intense, angry thumping in it that I figured would be fun to play, at least, even if it didn't produce necessarily the greatest melody. The intense chorus of the song implies a son getting beaten by his father, a father in some kind of traditional, I think, Catholic household. However, one nuance when I first listened to this song is I heard the lyrics as Daddy raised the Cain, when in fact it is saying Adam raised the Cain, as in the characters of Adam and Cain from the Bible. And it's kind of funny because, yeah, I guess Cain and Abel are the children of Adam and Eve, but not that I have much of a relationship to the Bible, but I never thought of Adam and Eve as like parents raising these little kids. It's sort of like they're standalone figures with standalone biblical stories. So juxtaposing the rigid traditional context of the Bible with more modern musings on father-son relationships, it makes for an interesting lyrical dynamic. Track number 3 is called Something in the Night. Like the song Badlands, this kind of adds a layer to Bruce Springsteen's earlier songs. I think what's going on with this one is you have a kid who drives a motorcycle, he gets drunk and ends up in a serious accident. And there's a lyrical part that goes, well, you're born with nothing and better off that way. Soon as if you've got something, they send someone to try and take it away. So maybe the subject of the song is the kid with the abusive father in track 2. So it's saying you finally find your freedom in that, you reach drinking age or you start drinking before you're of legal age. But, what do you want to do when you have freedom? You be reckless, like you abuse alcohol, you get drunk, and then you end up being punished for that and you lose your freedom all over again. So in other words, this struggle for freedom, this struggle to be born to run just feels like a futile struggle. Track number 4 is called Candy's Room, and this is quite an epic song given its subject matter. There's like several different musical motifs in it. It feels like it's almost as ambitious as the sort of far more obviously extravagant Jungle Land on Bruce Springsteen's previous album. Now, this is a song I didn't make much of lyrically at first, but then I was just looking up the lyrics and found this commenter on the website songmeanings.com. The commenter just went by the username ChrisG19, and this comment he left points out that the easy interpretations of the song about, being a customer falling in love with a sex worker likely misses the point. So this person claimed to know Bruce Springsteen's biography quite well, which I do not, but apparently he was really, into the theme of people in their mid-20s still living at home and trying to find adulthood. And, once you hear that's the theme of this album, it suddenly resonates. You're like, oh, that's why the album art is Bruce Springsteen standing here looking like a badass in his leather jacket, but in front of floral wallpaper as if he's, waiting for a date at his girlfriend's parents' house. And then you listen to this song, Candy's Room, and it's a song where so little can be going on, and yet there's these dramatic, exuberant moments as if to say, hey, I'm a real man, but my life's not going on well. So just getting to hang out with this young woman in her room, it's like my whole life is coming to life. It's becoming exuberant because this is all I have. A different kind of all I have track is number 5, Racing in the Street. This is kind of a slowed down version of the old fun Martha and the Vandellas hit Dancing in the Street, but it's not about dancing in the street. It's about drag racing in the street. It has a cool ending that's kind of implicitly tragic, where it's left ambiguous. Was there an actual accident in this drag race? Did someone suffer a tragic injury? Or is the character's girlfriend just saying to him, look, the simple fact that you have to do this to have fun is sad. Maybe you're not injured yet, but injury is inevitable. Track number 6 is called The Promised Land. And I feel like in this one, commenter Chris G12's interpretation of Candy Room becomes really obvious. So the title of this song implies the American dream. The singer is working a tough mechanic job, wishing he could be a man and not a boy. And in the lyrics, it's possible that this boy is in fact employed by his father. So again, kept down by the man, this theme we've seen before. One could also interpret the lyrics as just he's extracurricularly building something in his father's garage and he's employed elsewhere. But I don't know, do with the interpretation what you will. Regardless, this song develops those implied themes from earlier in the album. That said, starting with The Promised Land, this album starts to take on a more upbeat, catchier feel. Bruce's singing starts to become a bit clearer. So even though the subject matter of this one is familiar and the music doesn't sound that distinct, there's a brightness to it, also with the harmonica playing. Track number 7 is called Factory. This is kind of the cynical answer to the previous track, The Promised Land. So whereas in The Promised Land, the singer was someone who aspired to be a man, even though he still saw himself as a boy. In this song, he kind of admits, okay, well, you become a man and you still go to work every day and you hate your job. Track number 8, I really like because of its searing yet articulately stated chorus, Streets of Fire. So as I've been getting at, if I have one overarching criticism of Bruce Springsteen with the albums I've listened to up to this point, it's the repetition. You get a lot of high octane songs with similar themes, and they're all individually very good. Some of them are individually great, but when you're listening to them all at once, it's hard to really read what's special in any one of them. So I kind of have that struggle with Streets of Fire. But that said, in addition to the great chorus that I've already talked about, I think what makes this song a little bit unique is that it's the first one in which the singer seems to genuinely be alone, up into this point in this album and on his previous albums, Born to Run and Greetings from Asbury Park. I don't know the second album as well. The character is constantly in this complex little world with all these characters, all these people having adventures. And suddenly, Streets of Fire, it's a similar character with similar desires, but suddenly they're alone, and that hits very differently. Track number 9 is called Prove It All Night. This is another upbeat and articulately sung one, so I really like it. But this one seems to be the answer to Streets of Fire. So previously, the singer was struggling with being alone, and he's now seemingly saying, all right, I'm going to achieve my adultness by doing the traditional thing and getting married. I'm done with adventures on the road. But if you look at the lyrics, you can tell it's not so much the singer is denouncing his old life, it feels like he has no choice. Now, there's maybe a tension between the music and the lyrics. The music mostly sounds pretty happy, but even in the singing, you can tell it's sort of a forced happiness. And whether intentionally or not, there's always a bit of natural melancholy in Bruce Springsteen's voice. And then finally, this album ends with a song, the title track, Darkness on the Edge of Town. So, yeah, it functions as the epilogue to the record. If one interprets it as being about the same subject matter as Prove It All Night, the marriage that was supposed to save everything seems to have failed. And on the one hand, nothing much has changed in the singer's old town, but I guess they're more isolated now from their dream and they're all friends. So they can kind of longingly look out as the darkness sets in on the edge of town and thinks maybe they'll find happiness in their old haunts while also recognizing their old haunts are kind of depressing. So basically, this is a fairly cool concept album about being legally an adult but not feeling quite there yet, and also coming from a working class town. It's not like the happy 20s, not quite adult, who's, off in grad school somewhere self-actualizing. No, this is someone doing tough working class jobs while also struggling with a sense of not feeling independent. So very good as a concept album. And again, I love the Bruce Springsteen style, but it can become a bit too much when listened to all together. And I think what's a bit alienating about this one at first is the vocals are a bit too mumbly, but it gets better in the second half with songs like The Promised Land, Streets of Fire, and Prove It All Night being sung in really crisp, articulate, catchy vocals. So let me know your thoughts on Darkness. I'm Zach Morgenstern. This is Ludwig von B. See you next time.